Raj was a city boy through and through. He preferred the concrete jungle to the actual one. He liked his creature comforts. He liked his routine. So when his adventurous friend Vikram convinced him to go on a solo hike, Raj was apprehensive, to say the least. Solo? He'd questioned, his voice laced with doubt. Vikram, ever the enthusiast, simply laughed and said, "It's the best way to find yourself, yeah." Raj wasn't entirely convinced about finding himself, but he found himself at the trailhead nonetheless, map in hand, a knot of anxiety twisting in his gut. He took a deep breath, the crisp mountain air doing little to calm his nerves. With a hesitant step, he started on the trail, the sounds of the city fading behind him with every step he took. The first hour was surprisingly pleasant. Sunlight dappled through the canopy, painting dancing patterns on the forest floor. The air was alive with the chirping of birds and the rustle of leaves. The trail was well marked, and Raj, finding his rhythm, began to relax. He even dared to take out his phone and snap a few photos of the breathtaking scenery. Vikram might be onto something, Raj mumbled to himself, a small smile playing on his lips. He felt a sense of calm wash over him, a feeling he rarely experienced in the cacophony of the city. As he walked, he found himself captivated by the intricate details of the forest, the delicate veins of a leaf, the industrious ants marching in a line, the spiderwebs glistening like silver threads. For the first time, he felt a connection with nature, a sense of belonging he hadn't expected. The sun, however, began its descent much faster than Raj had anticipated. It was as if someone had flipped a switch, plunging the forest from vibrant daylight into an unsettling gloom. The shadows stretched, growing longer and more menacing with every passing minute. The once welcoming woods now seemed to close in on Raj, the silence broken only by the sounds of his own increasingly rapid heartbeat. Panic welled up in his chest, a cold dread gripping him. He checked his phone, but the battery icon blinked ominously red. No signal. Of course not. Raj cursed himself for not being more prepared. He quickened his pace, his heart pounding in his ears, but with every step he took, the trail seemed to grow fainter, the forest denser, the light dimmer. He was hopelessly, terrifyingly lost. Just when the darkness felt all-consuming, Raj stumbled upon a faint light flickering in the distance. Hope surged through him, a beacon in the overwhelming despair. As he staggered towards it, the outline of a structure emerged from the darkness. A cabin, small, dilapidated, but a shelter nonetheless. Relief washed over him, momentarily eclipsing the unease that crept in at the edges of his mind. He approached cautiously, each creaking step on the wooden porch echoing in the stillness of the night. The door, hanging precariously from one hinge, creaked open at his touch. The interior was shrouded in shadows, the air thick with the smell of damp wood and something unfamiliar, unsettling, but it was dry, and it was shelter. For tonight it would have to do. Section 5. Faces of Fear. With trembling hands, Raj fumbled for his lighter, the tiny flame doing little to dispel the darkness that clung to every corner of the cabin. As his eyes adjusted, he noticed the paintings. They lined the walls, dark and brooding portraits that seemed to watch his every move. The subjects, their eyes seemed to follow him, their expressions a mixture of sadness and something else. Something that sent shivers down Raj's spine. He tried to ignore them, to focus on building a small fire in the old stone fireplace. The crackling of the flames provided a small measure of comfort, pushing back the shadows and the unsettling gaze of the portraits. But every time he glanced up, he could have sworn the expressions on the faces in the paintings shifted, their eyes glinting with a strange knowing. Section 6. A restless slumber. Exhaustion finally overwhelmed fear, and Raj collapsed onto the dusty floor, his backpack serving as a makeshift pillow. Sleep came in fits and starts, punctuated by nightmares where the faces in the paintings came alive, whispering his name, their voices a chorus of shadows. Each time he woke up with a start, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. The silence of the cabin was deafening, broken only by the creaking of the old structure and the sound of his own ragged breathing. He longed for the sounds of the city, the distant hum of traffic, the barking of a dog, anything to drown out the eerie silence that pressed in on him. But there was nothing but the heavy silence and the watchful gaze of the portraits, their eyes boring into him, feeding his fear. Section 7. Dawn's Revelation. The first rays of dawn pierced through the gaps in the boarded-up windows, painting streaks of light across the dusty floor of the cabin. Raj woke up with a gasp, his body stiff and sore, his mind still reeling from the nightmarish portraits that haunted his sleep. He blinked, his eyes slowly adjusting to the morning light, and that's when he saw it. The paintings. They were gone. Where the dark, brooding portraits had hung just hours before, there were now only windows, boarded up and weathered with time, but undoubtedly windows. The faces, the haunting eyes, the chilling expressions, all gone, vanished with the night. Had he imagined them? A trick of the light, a figment of his exhausted, terrified mind? Section 8. A Haunting Memory. Raj stumbled out of the cabin, desperate for the reassurance of sunlight and open sky. He practically ran back the way he had come, following the faint memory of the trail. It felt like an eternity, but eventually he emerged from the dense woods, blinking in the bright sunlight. Relief washed over him, so profound it left him weak-kneed. He never told anyone about the paintings. Who would believe him? He himself wasn't sure what he had seen, what his sleep-deprived mind had conjured in the darkness. But the memory lingered, a haunting echo in the back of his mind. The faces in the portraits, though gone, continued to stare at him from the recesses of his memory, a chilling reminder of his night lost in the woods. Lesson 9. Lessons learned. Back in the familiar comfort of his city life, Raj found himself changed. The experience, though terrifying, had chipped away at his apprehension, his fear of the unknown. He realized the importance of preparation, the necessity of respecting the power of nature. And while he might not have found himself in the woods that night, he had faced his fears, his vulnerabilities. He had survived. And in that survival he discovered a strength he never knew he possessed. He had stared into the face of fear and emerged, changed but unbroken. The experience, a chilling reminder of the thin veil between the familiar and the unknown, would forever be etched in his memory, a stark, silent testament to his night lost in the woods.